Welcome to Blending the Family, the podcast. Topics can range from finding your faith, dating after divorce, and mental health. Warning, you're about to listen to a conversation, not an interview. Here's your host, who was a stay-at-home dad and was actually outsourced, Tommy Maloney.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast known as Tommy Maloney. Welcome to the podcast known as Blending the Family. I'm your host, Tommy Maloney. I'm keeping that in. So, doggy. Let me grab some water. How the heck are you? It's been a while. Happy belated July 4th. And I'm going to talk about that. What a great week I had during July 4th. On this episode, we have Rock Thomas. I'm in a hotel in Orange County, outside of Anaheim. And the chair in the hotel room doesn't have arms. So I keep trying to grab arms. Anyway, Rock Thomas. I'm going to tell you, before I really go into details about Rock, go to, I guess, maybe YouTube, type in Goalcast, or type in Rock Thomas, or go to Goalcast and type in Rock Thomas, and watch that video. Well, that's all I'm going to say for right now, okay? Before I talk about the July 4th weekend, which was, oh my gosh, it was a proud daddy moment. All right. So for those of you that follow me on Instagram or follow Blending the Family, but on Instagram and Twitter, it's Blending Family. I got this message from this clothing company called B-R-U-T-E-I, Brute Impact.fashion. Brute Impact.fashion. And they think, for some reason, I would be good for them. I don't get it. Anyway, so what did the guy say, or whoever this was, said, so in a few sentences, tell us why you think you would be a great ambassador. I told him I wouldn't. I told him I am 50-plus white guy who doesn't wear their clothing. Now, I will tell you, some of the hats were really cool, and a couple of the hoodies, but I said, my kids would be your ambassador, not me. So anyway, so I told them, I said, hey, send me a code, and I'll put this code in the show notes, and I'll mention you guys on the podcast, and give me this code so you, the listener, can get a discount. And not until I buy something. So I'm like, all right, fine. So here's my challenge. Here's my challenge to you. To kind of screw you to bruteimpact.fashion, because I want to say to my listeners, go buy something on their website, and then go on Instagram and say, hey, I listened to Tommy Maloney, I listened to Blending the Family podcast, I heard about your fashion website, your clothing, I bought something. You should be a full-time sponsor, or you should give Tommy a hoodie and a hat and whatever else the kids want. So anyway, bruteimpact.fashion. You just got a free plug. How's that? All right, enough about them. So the week of July 4th, I was not working the dreaded day job. And by the way, if you've been following me on Instagram this week, I have a cold. I have no idea where I got this cold. So, sorry about that. But I'm feeling much better. Thanks for asking. So I wasn't working the dreaded day job during July 4th. I got from Tuesday to Sunday. So, let me look. I got to look at my calendar. I'm so stupid. I got to turn off my phone because I think the wife is going to call me after I called her and said, hey, how you doing? Well, actually, she answered the phone saying, "Yeah, what up?" Like, come on, let's talk, let's chit chat. But I think her and Becca were having dinner. All right, so let me look at my calendar. All right, so I had the boy, a.k.a. Connor, from July 2nd to July 7th, and that was a rarity. So for you divorced dads out there, when you get the opportunity to have your kids longer than a weekend, here's my advice. Spend quality time, okay? Spend quality time. I just finished a book by Jesse Itzler. If you don't know who Jesse Itzler is, he wrote the book Living with Seal. I can't remember if it's Living with a Seal or Living with Seal. Who not a but a Navy SEAL, aka David Goggins. Find him on Instagram. Man, he's intense. Anyway, Jesse Itzler wrote another book called Living with the Monks, or Living with a Monk. I can't remember. Anyway, so I finished that book, and one of the things I really got out of the book was called Remember Tomorrow. Remember tomorrow. So what that means is, and if you don't, for example, you're laying in bed, the alarm goes off, and you're thinking, I need to go for a walk, I need to go for a run, I need to take, the dog out for a good walk versus just laying him out in the backyard. Remember tomorrow is that guilt that you're going to feel the next day going, I should have done that. I should have gotten up on time. I should have gone for that run. I should have gone for that walk. I should have spent more quality time with my friends, my family. That was my motto during July 4th, meaning I just want to spend quality time with my son, as much time. And we had a blast. We spent time cooking together, even though I did most of it, but that's okay. We spent a lot of time at the ice rink working on. If you're new to this podcast, hi, I'm Tommy. Thanks for coming by. He's a goalie, hockey goalie. He is getting ready. Let's see, we'll be getting ready for tryouts coming up probably in a month. So we were working on some things. So we cooked together. We went to the ice rink a lot. I made him go on long-ass walks with me. I don't know how to explain it. This is where traditional families and blended families or divorced families, that's the difference between a traditional family. You constantly are with your kids, but as a blended family or, again, divorced, you don't get those opportunities. Sorry, more water. Anyway, it was just a lot of fun, and I just want to share that with you. The other thing I want to share with you is a big ask. Big, huge ask, and that is I want to bring my coaching business back into full fold. So if you are a divorced dad, or if you're a dad struggling, or even if you're somebody who's trying to need some help, and it doesn't have to be in the world of divorce. You need some coaching. You need help with I can help you with your LinkedIn profile, or give you some coaching, okay? Please reach out to me at Tommy at blendingthefamily.com. That's Tommy at blendingthefamily.com. I'm open to anywhere from 5 to 10 new clients. That's my limit, 5 to 10 new clients. And again, if you know somebody that needs some coaching, let me know. Reach out to me, Tommy at blendingthefamily.com. All right. Talked about July 4th. We talked about the clothing people. talked about how I want to help you. I want to help you with the coaching business, with my coaching business, help you. All right, Rock Thomas. And right before I left to come to California, I left my notes there. But, so Rock Thomas, as I said earlier, I discovered him by watching, I was just flipping through YouTube one night looking for some motivational videos and came across Rock's video where he talked about, it was rough. He talked about his dad and the, I want to say more mental, maybe, abuse he received from his dad. They lived on a farm in Montreal, Canada. And just listening to Rock's story, the first time I saw his video, I just sat in the hotel room crying because I am very blessed. I don't have or ever had that type of relationship with my dad. And so I reached out to Rock, and it took a few months, so I'm very honored to have Rock on the show. We talk about his dad. We talk about how he, even after leaving home because he didn't want to take the abuse anymore, he came back to help his dad after he found out his dad was really, really sick, and paid off a lot of bills for his dad. And at one point, if you watch the Goldcast video, he asks his dad a very poignant question. And so I really wanted to bring Rock on this podcast to share with you that if you feel like you're at the lowest of the low, guess what? If you look up, there's still the ceiling. There's the sky. There's room to grow. And so it was just it's not a beautiful story. However, listening to Rock talk about his perseverance, and he talks about his accomplishments. And one of the questions I asked him, I said, well, do you think, and it's hard to play that what if game, but I want to know, do you think your life would be totally different if you were born somewhere else? And he said no. He has that drive, that inner drive, and that's one of those things I wish I had. I don't know if you probably have it too, but I just am so honored and blessed that we had Rock on this podcast. And so that's all I'm going to say, because again, like I said, I've left my notes back home in my home office, and that's about it. I'm trying to think, was there anything else other than me having this cold? Nope, that's about it. All right. And I truly do believe, I kind of kid about the Terry Crews line. And if you're just joining this podcast for the first time, I heard this and watched this interview of Terry Crews with Tim Ferriss. And Terry Crews was talking about his time as an NFL player and his early years as an actor. And one of the things that I just really, I just fell in love with Terry Crews when he said that, just because somebody got a bigger role than he did, but it also means that there's other opportunities out there. And so, even though I'm in a situation where I despise the day job, but I truly believe that if I can help that person become successful with their job, then I'll become successful. And the same with you. And that's why I love that quote from Terry Crews. And so I want to leave you with this, and that is truly remember that, as I was talking earlier about Jesse Itzler and, remember tomorrow. So, do the things that you need to do to be, eat properly, work out, those things like that. But at the same time, remember that you're only on this planet one time, and that helping other people is, in my view, in my opinion, why we're on this planet. So that's why I firmly believe that your success is my success. My success will be your success. And so I'm not one of those people that enjoys or is comfortable for asking for help, but I'm asking today for your help in getting more coaching clients. I'm asking your help to subscribe to this podcast, to let others know about this podcast. And so, because that means my success will eventually be your success. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay? Anyway, here's an interview I did with Rock Thomas. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for caring. Thanks for sharing. You, as the great Terry Crews would say, your success is my success. Peace. By the way, happy Canada Day?
Correct. You got it right.
I have to ask, are you a Montreal Canadiens fan?
Used to be.
Because I'm a huge hockey fan myself, because my boy plays. And so today's the big day of free agency, so I've been kind of keeping an eye on
who's nice. Anything good happening?
Yeah. The big story is Bobrovsky for Columbus might be going to the Florida Panthers, which is huge for me being a Chicago Blackhawks fan because Joe Quenneville is now their head coach. So
all right.
I told my son I'm going to jump on the Panthers bandwagon this coming season.
Oh, cool.
But I'm still a diehard Blackhawks fan.
It's a great sport. It just it cycles. Chicago's struggled. Your team struggled lately. They had a good run, but Montreal struggled for 25 years. And, I don't do mediocre well, so it's become a little bit boring watching a very average team. You know what I mean?
Right.
So right. I've moved on to other things.
Well, and hopefully we'll cover some of those other things today. How's that, Rock?
Let's get into it.
Awesome. So I really have to say that I discovered you, and I'm going to guess that a lot of people have discovered you, Rock, is from your Goalcast video, which I watched in a hotel room. I don't know how I stumbled upon it. I think it was just one of those nights I was just looking for some positive video to just motivate me. And I sat in that hotel room watching your story, crying, going, oh my gosh, that really touched me. Just being a dad, but at the same time, that was a heart-wrenching story to watch.
Well, when it's happening, you don't know it's happening. You're just living your life. And then you look back in retrospect and you're like, damn, I went through some stuff that had some valuable lessons. And have you read the book Can't Hurt Me by Dave Goggins?
Yes. So,
that makes me look like a pussy, It's all relative. I really believe, and we can get into this in the show, but I really believe that, I developed a really good bicep called, like David Goggins, I can put up with an incredible amount of pain and neglect and abandonment and all that. But I've had to work on my empathy and my compassion because, when you're a carpenter, everything's a nail. You think you got a hammer, everything's a nail. And I broke things and I bulldozed my way into success. But at the end of the day, broke relationships. There's a price you pay. And that's the second part of my life is learning that and learning to be a little bit more elegant. And so those are the beautiful lessons. But thank you for your compassion. It sucked from a perspective of being a child that didn't feel like I belonged or that I was connected, and I was afraid most of the time. But I got through it, and now I'm able to pass some of those teachings on to other people. So I'm pretty blessed in the end, if that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense, but at the same time, going back to your story, Rock, and that is a few things pop into my head, and that is so for example, when you went back to go help your dad, when you found out from your bonus mom that your dad had cancer, and all you wanted was some acknowledgement of being a good son, and that your Goldcast video where he had nothing positive to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously that really shaped your life, but could you even turn those life lessons, even though you were, a young lad of, 7, 8 years old, having to do chores up until, the day you left home, those experiences, do you think your life, if you could best guess, Rock, and play the what if game, and that is, if you didn't have a dad that was such a hard ass, do you think your life would have been any different?
Oh, 100%. A big part of my life was shaped. The majority of my life has been shaped trying to make him proud, whether he's dead or alive. What would my father think? Would this make him proud? Score the winning goal, to build the business, to stay in shape, to marry the right girl. There was the filter that I used for whatever reason. I desperately wanted my father's love. Sometimes child wants her mother's love more. Mine just happened to be shaped that way. And it drove me 24 hours a day. So it's Canada Day today, and this is my 5th podcast, and I've got one more to go. Most people are at home lying by the pool. Now, in my case, it just happens that most of my staff is in the U.S. They didn't know it's Canada Day, so they booked me for 6 podcasts today. But there's an incredible drive still that is resident within me, and that's the bicep that is overdeveloped. I don't have, it's very rare. I have to work on motivating myself. I'm like a stallion. I have to mostly work on pulling myself back, dialing it, meditating, chilling, relaxing. But it's easy for me to take the next mountain. And that's, I think, born out of the meaning that I attached to the events I went through as a child.
One of the things and I'm not very linear when it comes to interviewing, because I just love being in the moment. And one of the things that I really want to ask you, and that is because it sounds like you've had some really positive mentors in your life, including when you first got into real estate, I believe. Can you tell us how we can find mentors, and what defines a good mentor to you?
I think that it's a really great question, because there's so much disbelief around mentors and what they represent. So the first thing I'll say is develop your muscle simply of asking. I went up to Jack Canfield after listening to him speak, and I asked him if he would mentor me in writing my book, and he said, sure. We didn't end up doing much together, but it was the courage to ask that created this new possibility and validated the experience of writing a book. When I met a gentleman 6 years ago and started my mastermind groups, he was speaking at the front of the room, and he goes, I have 3 people reporting to me making $1 million. I'm looking for 2 more, because you can measure your success on the quality of the individual reporting to you. And if somebody's making $1 million a year, they are a badass. And I define a lot of my success by having badasses report to me. If you have somebody making minimum wage reporting to you, or you have nobody reporting to you, it means you're doing all the work. You haven't moved much down the line of leadership or of visionary or of empowering inspiration. I walked up to him and I said, I'm number 4. And we created a mastermind group 6 years ago, and now it's expanded to thousands of people being impacted. Over 100 people have careers within our organization because of it 6 years ago, because I went up and I asked, and he invited me to a mastermind group, and he became a great mentor of mine. So the first thing I think is you have to have the courage to ask, and you're going to get rejected, or you're not going to say it the right way, and you're going to mess up, and it doesn't matter. You measure yourself on your ability to ask in spite of the expected response. And that's a muscle to develop, and there's layers to it, but I won't go into that right now. The other thing you can simply do is when you see somebody that is, you want to have them as a mentor, you can do what I did, is you just pull your wallet out and you hire them. I gave Tony Robbins $100,000 to coach me. I gave Butch Harmon $2,000 to speak to him for 20 minutes. He's the guy who coached Tiger Woods during his prime.
Right.
So for me, you can pay for your mentor. Most mentors, are in the business of sharing your wisdom. And then the third thing is simply add value. The one that helped me in my real estate career, I paid my real estate. I was a client in his real estate office. I paid my real estate bill 6 months in advance. And he saw that as me adding value. I wasn't a problem to him. I showed up to all of his trainings. I was a good student. So when you add value, you're willing to wash a person's car, pick up their dry cleaning, bring them a cup of coffee, show them that you just want to be around them. And that's probably the third and easiest way if you're not in a financial position. Just do anything for them. Just go up to them and say, I just want to be around you. What can I do for you? Can I get you a coffee? Successful people, the biggest challenge they have is resources around them and surrounding themselves with talent. I could easily have somebody follow me around and turn my computer on and take a Snapchat of me or a video of me while I'm doing things and get me my lunch and pull the car around. That would really be great. So somebody would be willing to let you do that, and then you just hang around them, and the next thing you know is you're in business with them. So those would be the 3 things off the top of my head.
How could you correlate mentorship with being a good dad?
Well, there's a saying I live by. It's not what you leave your children, it's what you leave in your children. And for me, my most successful, I think, accomplishment to date is my 3 beautiful children. They're 23, 25, 27. They're all fit and healthy. I've made a priority to make that an example. I would work out with them in the morning when I'd get up. I would play with them a lot. I would be physical with them a lot. I coached their sports teams, and we ate healthy. We had awareness around that, and I think that the chains of habit are too weak to feel until they're too strong to break. So what you can do for your children is give them some habits and some rituals. So meditating, even believe it or not. Visualizing, sitting there and closing your eyes and having them visualize what they want to do in their sport. I used to do it with my son. Visualize yourself scoring a goal. Visualize yourself being open. Visualize yourself having fun. Visualize yourself being in the right place at the right time while we drove to his sports games, teaching them the power of visualization, teaching them the power of self-belief, having deep conversations around what you're excited about and passion versus talking about gossip and things. I got my children to speed type. I blindfolded them and I got them to speed type the book called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz until they could type 80 words a minute. They hated me most of the time, honestly, but they look back today and their dad were so grateful. We saved so much time. I paid them to read books. So my kids have a basis of personal development and a desire to grow, a passionate curiosity around things, a respect for other humans. So I think being a good dad is being a good mentor. And the first thing is to be good to yourself, the self-care. because kids do more what they see than what you say. So if you're not taking care of yourself, you're saying, hey, you should exercise while you're sitting there having your sixth beer and you got a pot belly and you're diabetic. To me, that doesn't work. So the first thing is work on yourself, because they're going to do what you do. And even if you think they're not going to, they will.
Well, I'm so happy you talked about visualization there, Rock, because when I used to coach my son for hockey, one of the things he and I created was this visualization routine before even the puck dropped. And what we would do is, after warm-ups, he would skate to the bench. He was a goalie. Well, still is. And I would tell him to just close his eyes, take 3 deep breaths, and then I would say, well, where are you at? And back then I had a townhome, and it was really cool where we would have our own hockey games because we had this huge long driveway in between townhomes. And I would say to him, where are you at? And the first thing he would say, I'm at the townhome. And I'd say, what are you doing? And he would say, I'm having fun. What are you going to do now? And he would say, I'm going to go make myself proud. I'd say, take 2 more deep breaths. He would do that. And I'd say, go have fun. And he would skate off to the net.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
I loved it too. And that's where one of the things that, I really want to talk to you about is, you talk a lot about labeling. You talk about, believing in yourself, and how you talked about, again, in one of your Goldcast videos of, imagining that you're Clint Eastwood. And one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about was, as a man, as a dad, we struggle a lot of times with trying to have that self-confidence and having that self-confidence to be able to pass on to our kids. Where does your self-confidence come from, Rock? And how do you share it with not only your kids, but with others?
I like that question, because a lot of people will tell you self-confidence comes from competence. So when you're good at tying your shoe and somebody says, hey, you tie your shoe, show the class. You're like, oh yeah, your brain goes back. It goes, I have 1,000, 1,000,000 references of doing that. Sure, I can do it. Hey, you want to come up here and juggle? And you're like, I don't have any references in my brain of juggling. No, I don't want to look embarrassed, shame. No. To me, what I use as a frame of reference, and I'm telling you this may be one of the greatest things, we could end the call after this, in my opinion, is that I have a belief that I can find a way as long as I'm committed and creative. So confidence comes from, hey, you want to come to the front of the room and juggle? Yeah, sure. And if I don't find a way because I still need to learn, then I default to becoming an excellent student. I become immediately passionately curious. I pay attention. I ask questions. And because I love to learn, and if you're not growing, you're dying, and I have it as one of my values and belief systems, given the opportunity to win by juggling in front of the class, because I've paid the price of practice in private to perform in public like a pro, and I've put in the time, and I get to experience and demonstrate that, show it, teach it, learn it, great. Given the opportunity to be in a situation that is stressful or big time, and have a mentor there that could teach me or could learn from, win-win again. So the answer is what? Yes, I'll come to the front of the room and juggle. Yes, I'll try and open that business. Yes, I want to go to the party Friday night. And then I go on a process. It's a 4-step process. Number 1, what's the outcome? I'd love to learn how to juggle, but if I can't, I'm going to learn. I'd love to juggle in front of the group, or I'm going to learn how. Either way, it's win-win. Number 2, scan for resources. What do I have that's available? My knowledge, my ability, etc. Scan for what's missing. And if something's missing, create a plan for that, short or long term. Ask the person beside me to show me how to juggle. Tell me 1 or 2, 3 distinctions. Make sure you throw one ball high in the air in the middle. Then relax and breathe, or whatever it is. They'll tell you very quickly. And then rapidly learn and start to get some momentum there. And then the last thing is course correct. You just course correct until you get better and better. So to me, to answer your question in a long way, confidence comes from your ability to believe you'll find a way or you're going to learn, and you'll keep on saying yes, and your skill set will grow. And that's your life. Life is what's happening to you while you're making other plans. So that's how I approach things in life.
I'm sitting here taking notes. Can you give us those 4 one more time, please, Rock?
Yep. So the first thing I do is I think, what's the outcome? What's the result that I want? I want to open a business. I want to gain 5 pounds of muscle, whatever it is. Then I scan to see what's available. Yep. I can work out in my gym at home. I could go to a club. I could look online and find out about nutrition, blah, blah, blah. So I scan for the resources. And then as I do that, naturally we'll come up with what's missing is, you know what? I probably need a trainer. I need someone. I need a mentor. So let me look online for a mentor. Let me make some phone calls. Let me talk to some people. So I look for the things that are missing. I need my gym equipment. I need this. I need that. I need to join a gym if I move to a new town. And then obviously I want to take action, drive down to the gym, find out about it, ask them about their trainer. And then I get into the action, and there's always a component that you need to course correct. You need to take action, get feedback, correct. Take action, get feedback, correct. Take action, get feedback, correct. And you do that endlessly until you get to the result that you want. And it might be longer if you have a learning curve. Great, you got to learn how to juggle. You drop it 1,000,000 times. Who cares? Course correct, course correct, course correct, course correct. And eventually the brain will find a way. So those are the steps that I use, and it's worked for 37 different streams of income that I have. Father of 3 children, doesn't matter if they're burping, you don't know what their stomach pain is, you change a diaper, you burp them, you rock them, you walk up and down the stairs, you put them on the washing machine, you get in the car, you drive around, you call a friend, you go to the hospital, the doctor, you drive across town, you call your grandmother, and eventually you find a way. And it's those same 4 steps that happens every single time on your path to success. I just call it the formula for success.
For me, it sounds like just learning your story is that all 4 of those samples, if you want to go from a 360 point of view, is just simply believing in yourself and believing in your abilities and believing that you can do this.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. In fact, there are 3 questions you have to answer that are crucial to a behavior. Number 1 is, can I do this? Can I do this? So if you go, can I juggle? And your brain goes, or let's say I say, can you juggle chainsaws? Your brain is probably going to go, no, I'm not going to do that. You're going to die. So if it says no, you're not going to take the action. So you've got to answer, can I do this? Can I run 3 miles within 3 months? Your brain goes, yeah, I could do that. You'll start to run a mile the first day. The second one is, will it work? So if the goal is to lose 5 pounds and somebody says to you, just run a mile 3 times a week for a month and it'll happen, your brain goes, that makes sense. It can work. I will do it. And the third one is, will it be worth it? And I'll give you another example to contrast it is salespeople doing cold calls. Most of them fail because they don't measure their activity. They don't track their numbers. So they do 2 hours of calling and they get 0 result. They're starving and they go, it's not worth it. It doesn't work. Where the pro caller does the things I talked about before. What's the outcome? Do phone calling until I get a result that I want. Scan for resources. What do I have? There's that guy down the hallway that does a really good job. Maybe I go get mentored by him. There's a script here in a book I can use. There's a phone. There's a directory. Scan for the resources that are missing. I don't know what to say. I don't know who to call. I don't know what to sell. I don't know about my product. Make your plan to build up your knowledge in that area. Take action, course correct, course correct, course correct. And if you track numbers like I did, you find out sooner or later that every call was worth $40. So even if I made 7 calls and got nobody that hour, I wrote down in my little book, I made $280, which further did what? Motivated me. The average person struggles and they go, I did 2 hours of calling, I got nothing. Well, how many calls does it take for you to get to a yes eventually? I don't know. Doesn't work. It's not worth it in their brain. I find the information to make it worth it, to motivate myself and convince myself to keep on taking action. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Could you also talk about, and maybe it's just, a lot of times maybe it's just me, Rock, but other times I really have a lot of self-doubt. And when your mentor, and I really want you to go into this because I think this was a great story. When your mentor asked you, who is it that you want to emulate? Who is it that inspires you? And the first person you said was?
Tony Robbins, you mean, or a mentor, or?
When you talk about Clint Eastwood?
Oh, Clint Eastwood, yeah. Well, that was contextual because I had this story around acne and pizza face, right?
Right.
And he said, find somebody that you could model. And here's the thing is all of us have an inner narrative, and you know this, that we're all talking to ourselves all the time, 24 hours a day. Except we have different voices. We have voices of the sad person. We have voices of the loser. Disney does a great movie called Inside Out. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, the cartoon.
Yeah. Phenomenal movie on the voices inside of us. And the problem is that we don't train, or we don't have a system to train the voices. And because the amygdala, the reptilian part of your brain whose job is to protect you, sadness and fear and doubt and worry are working 24 hours a day. Your spirit needs to flex its muscle and build the voice of courage and optimism and vision and leadership and I can do it and it'll be worth it. You need to give a dialogue. You need to empower. That's why we talk about personal development. The people who are most developed develop themselves personally to combat the amygdala in your brain, to quiet those voices. Fear gets up and goes, whoa, that's broccoli. Careful, watch out. And, and your healthy voice goes, yo, dude, chill, man. That's broccoli. We got this. It's good for you. Go have a seat, fear or disgust or what have you. So as you become enlightened, it's easier for the voice of, for me in the case, going back to your example, Tommy, is, what's confidence? Confidence is me having a voice that says, in spite of fear, doubt, and worry, trying to protect me, I know either win or learn. I know I'll win or learn. There's no, unless it's something that's immoral or it's going to be physically hurt me. But if it's somebody saying, hey, would you like to, at Toastmasters, do a 2-minute talk? Yeah, I might be embarrassed or ashamed if I don't knock it out of the park, but I'll learn. So I default, and the little voice inside of me called learner gets excited because he's like, I'm learning. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get stronger. And I'm going to be able to take on fear, doubt, and worry every time a bit better. So I give it life. I breathe into it. And when you do that, your life changes completely. So Clint Eastwood was a voice of choice to say, how would he behave? Even though he's not Tom Cruise beautiful, he's ruggedly handsome. I could relate to that. What would he do? How would he stand? How would he breathe? How would he show up? Does he stay at home and cry like a little baby like I've been doing? No. He goes, make my day. And he steps into his power. I can do that. I can model that. I can emulate. I can act as if I'm in that. And listen, we all do it all the time. Jordan going down. He's up. He shoots. And he gets the 3-pointer, Wayne Gretzky. He's down. He's on the left side. He shoots. He scores. We embody it. We look for the voice of our choice. But when we do it consciously, Tommy, we change our life radically. When we do it by default, the amygdala takes charge and we end up giving all the weak voices energy in life and we end up having a crap whole life.
I would say in that movie, by the way, I was the Lewis Black character.
Yeah. Nice.
So you take this persona, so to speak, of Clint Eastwood, and you have your mantra, I am. how can we take that mantra? How can we share that mantra with the listeners? And so to benefit them, to, even on those bad days, as you talk about real estate where you didn't sell that house, or you didn't get that job interview, or you are going through maybe a divorce or a separation. How can we take that I am mantra and use it to benefit us?
Yeah, great question. I mean, first of all, I think we want to remind people that we all have this way we see ourselves and define ourselves. And we say, I'm a morning person, or I'm not, or I'm a tennis player, or I'm not. Somebody comes up to you and say, hey, you want to play tennis? You go, no, I don't play tennis. I'm not a tennis player. And you take yourself out of that potential activity. Where maybe if you just took up a racket and practiced and played, you'd get good and love it. So we get these labels. Mine was pizza face, and I upgraded it to ruggedly handsome, and it changed the way I define myself. And when you define yourself, you behave that way. Hey, you want to play tennis? Yeah, I'm a 3.0. I'm a 3.5. Let's go. I prefer to play the left side, not the right side. I like doubles. I like singles, whatever. We define ourselves, which predicts our behavior. The simple reason is that you'd be schizophrenic if you didn't. Hey, you want to play tennis? I don't know if I'm a tennis player. Sure, I'll try it. Like you wouldn't know how to show up in life if you couldn't define yourself. Want to go to a party? Yeah, but I don't know if I'm going to be dancing on the tables or sit in the corner shy. Let's see what happens. I am crazy. Okay. Like you'd be a freak, right? So you've got to grab onto something that makes sense to you and you go, yes, I'm an introvert. I'll be over here in the corner with my club soda. Or whenever I go to a party, I'm the life of the party. And therefore, I'm going to tell jokes. So I just say most of your programming, Tommy, came from unprofessional, unhired programmers. Your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters, your aunt, your uncle, your neighbors, your teachers, your pastor. And they were like, oh, look, Tommy's really cute when he's quiet. And you were looking up and you're like, oh, I like being cute, so I guess I'll be quiet for the rest of my life. And you live out that programming. I'm simply saying is spend time visualizing, thinking, journaling, meditating. Who are you? Who are you really? Find some people you admire or respect or you'd like to be like. Like for me, a great athlete, Roger Federer. I thought he's a classy, elegant guy. He has a belief that if he gets a bad bounce or a bad call from the ref, he's still going to win. He has the capacity to win and defy all the odds. I like that. I'm going to embody that. I'm going to take that on as an athlete. The Rock. I'm Rock, but there's The Rock. This is a guy who's a work ethic that is legendary. When I go into the gym, I embody his internet. I think, what would he think? How would he behave? Would he quit now? Would he be tired? So I think you give different voices to different situations, thinking of who is the optimal voice in that situation. And then you go, I am a hardworking, or I am diligent, or I am somebody who can defy the odds and play at my very best in spite of an unlucky bounce or a bad call. I am resilient. I am unstoppable. I am a leader. I'm a learner. I'm passionately curious. So I wrote a book on this, and I just thought, why not, by choice, consciously, define yourself like you were writing the role for a movie actor, and then have a conversation with yourself, an inner narrative where you give life to those roles. And you say, when I go home as a dad, I'm going to be present, epic, playful. I'm going to do the things that make these children feel as though I'm present and loving. I'm going to read. I used to read them bedtime stories and make things up. It'd be like Jack and Jill went up the hill and then they opened up an internet company. And they're like, Daddy, that's not true. He didn't do that. Read it the right way, Daddy. But it made it fun and it made them pay attention. So it's because I had a thing of, I want to be a playful dad. I want to be creative. I want my kids to have a memory. If I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. And that all came by me saying, I am. What kind of dad do I want to be? I'm going to be an epic freaking dad that's present. Because why? The pain of my dad not being there. So the I am movement, which I started, was all about consciously choosing to program yourself, lean into it, give it voice, and then grow to be the best version of yourself. And I know I'm giving you long answers to your questions, but you're a very good listener, so I'm just kind of on a roll.
Oh, I love, and again, it goes back to just watching your video, and a lot of the things you've talked about, what you just recently talked about and what you talk about in the video really resonated with me, especially. So one of the labels that I've had to endure was back when I was, I think it was sophomore year in high school. And I had a lot of respect for my math teacher. His name was Dr. Watson. And I loved that guy. He, if you gave any kind of effort, Rock, in his class, it didn't matter if you were the best student or the worst student. And as long as you had effort, he would help you so much. And so he saw that I was struggling in his math class. He had a tutor set up for me. And before school started, sat in study hall with this tutor. And at that time, I was struggling. And finally, the tutor just turned to me and said, "You're even too dumb to have a tutor." And I'm like, okay. And because of that, my label ever since then is I don't do math. And it's gotten to the point, it's a running joke in my family with my kids. When it comes time for the waitress to come by and, give you the receipt and you fill out the tip and all that, even my son, he's like, do you want me to help you with that? I'm like, sure. Because I look at it this way. Yes, I understand that's something that I need to control as far as a weakness. But there are times where I look at it as a learning opportunity for the kids to say, all right, I understand I'm not good at this. I know you are. Here, you figure out the tip. So again, it's unfortunate for me that it's a label that, a lot of us, the old, you come from a broken home. And so therefore, your parents divorced. And so you carry all that baggage with you. And so, like I said, Rock, the one label that I still have with me today is I'm not good at math, but that's okay.
Well, that's your pizza face, right?
Uh-huh.
I had the pizza face and I shifted it. And the interesting thing is that I had another client that one day, something similar, she was doing times tables and the teacher said something similar like they said to you, is like, what are you, stupid? Or are you an idiot? Or you can't add or something. And she completely shut down and stopped studying and cheated off of other kids' exams and somehow got through school, but never put in the time and effort. You may have a different learning style. You may have had what we call a triple E, or that was the triple E with the tutor, where your brain went, it's like it fries the circuits. Too much emotional energy was transmitted from him to you and made you feel like you were not enough. And your brain said, we don't want to ever visit numbers again. We're going to do everything to avoid numbers because we don't want to ever feel like an idiot again. You may actually be very good at math. You may be advanced at it. You just haven't now put in the time or energy to catch up. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Did you say triple E?
Yeah, extreme emotional event. A girl gets raped, you're in a car accident, somebody yells at you, you burn yourself, you knock coffee over somebody else, and you're like, oh my God! It's such an emotional surge of energy that it fries your circuits and changes the way you see the world for the rest of your life. Our job as neuroscientists is to go back to this event and change the meaning. That's what we do in NLP with timeline therapy and parts integration therapy and hypnosis, is we go back to the events and change the meaning because the event is over. A great athlete goes back to an event and they change the meaning. A guy strikes out with bases loaded, bottom of the ninth in the World Series. Some of them don't change that and you never hear from them again. And the really good ones, what do? They look at it right at the top of what we talked about before. What's the outcome? Be the greatest baseball player in the world. Go up in that arena and win. Juggle, juggle, juggle. If I can't, become a student. So they look at that and they go, the next time I'm in this situation, I will behave differently based on the feedback I got. I was too anxious. I was too slow. I was focusing on what the people were thinking, not on my mechanics. And they get better.
Can we have those E's one more time, Rock?
Extreme, emotional, event. And you need to reframe it, change the meaning that was first offered by your own brain or by the environment. What meaning did you attach to that event with your tutor?
Well, for me, it was the fact that if a tutor is telling me that I'm too stupid for math, that math is not going to be my strong subject, even though, like you said, who knows? Maybe if I had, maybe tried a different tutor or maybe reached out to my network, my friends, and said, help me, things could have been definitely a lot different back then, or even today, I should say.
And then the other thing, I'm going to give you an opportunity for some leverage is, yes, it's beautiful your kids get to step up. And is it also possible that they're looking at dad as either incapable of learning a certain part of his life, not willing to be coachable, a little embarrassed around it? And what would it be like if you got together with your kids? How old are your kids?
22, 17, 16.
What if dad decided to take a course on math and find out where his learning opportunity is and ask for help with his kids? And it would be a bonding situation. And then you could look back and you can say, hey, you know what? I actually was offered this silly label by this one person who was a bad programmer. And I realized that I made it all up in my head. And it was a limiting belief. And now, through just time on task and practicing, I'm realizing that I actually am not that bad with numbers, and I can take responsibility to be a good steward of the finances of the family. And as much as I've enjoyed depending on all of you, it's been a really great way to connect. I've decided to go back and discover about myself here. And maybe you guys could help me or be on that journey, or you do it on your own or whatever. But it would be a really, I think, really, really cool, potentially mature, interesting, curious, bizarre, whatever journey. But I would invite you to give that some thought.
Well, and I appreciate that, because one of the things that I've seen you talk a lot about, and, unfortunately for a lot of us men, is that we do have those limiting beliefs, and we don't go forward or push past the wall when, again, one of the things you've talked about is, reprogramming your brain, changing the software, updating the software in a better way. And again, I feel that a lot of us men, when we're told, we are stupid or we are lazy, then we take that as that's our truth, when it's just one person's opinion, really.
Correct. And somebody told me this the other day. Opinions are like farts. Everybody has them.
And luckily they go away.
Well, they go away unless you hang on to them. And who wants to hang on to a fart? Right?
No, that's unhealthy.
Exactly. And they're stinky, right? So most people, by the way, unless they come from a loving place as a mentor, most people are going to download their limitations onto you.
So how can, as I put this out on my one of my blogs recently, my concern is that I'm passing on my introvert ways to my son. And even though he's not as introvert as I am,
but I see those tendencies. How can we, as mentors ourselves and as dads and parents, how can we take, our own little bit of negativity, the way I look at it, how can we take some of those habits and try not to pass them on, other than, I guess, emulating or just being better, at understanding that what our kids see us doing, good or bad, they might take it to a different step. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, first of all, how would you describe yourself as a father?
Oh gosh, we don't have enough time for this. The bottom line is I don't feel as a good father, and it's a few weeks ago on Father's Day at church, one of the pastors said that he came across, I don't know where he got this stat from, but essentially, 4 out of 10 dads don't feel like they're a good dad, and that's where I fit, and that's because I have a day job where I travel 100%. I don't feel that I am doing a good enough job because, again, I'm not there. For example, my son plays baseball, and unfortunately, I only was able to see one game this past season. So because of things like that, where I'm missing out on opportunities with him, that's where I don't feel like I'm a good enough dad.
Okay, so you have a belief that quality time is lacking in your relationship with your son. Therefore, you are not the best dad you could be.
Well, definitely, and it goes back to right when I had my first divorce. Is I took my time with my son for granted because thinking, I'm going to be married this one time, this is it, and yeah, that's not the case. And so I take a lot of that ownership as far as taking the time for granted. And now I still feel that way, that I've missed out on a lot of opportunity.
How do you feel you're doing in the financial arena with your family?
Better, quite honestly.
If you had as much money as you wanted, could you spend more time with your children?
Yes.
So then that's a little bit the work I do, right? My mastermind group is called M1, The Journey of the Whole Life Millionaire, and how to become financially free without giving up your relationships or your health. And I have a belief that you can have it all, but you need to get educated around passive income, which they don't teach us in school. So how old are you?
53.
53. So you're in the same realm that I am, and it's never too late to get rich. So, but you've got to have the vehicles that do it. So, yes, your children are growing up now, and you don't have as much time as you want. You're not the only one that feels that way. We live in a world where most of us don't have time. The average couple has 20 quality minutes in a day in a relationship. So it's not uncommon. However, what we can do is when we are with our children, be as intentional as possible. And I just try to be a better version of myself. I'm not saying I have all the answers. I've certainly had good times and awkward times with my kids. Recently, about 6 months ago, a couple of them decided not to talk to me for a couple of months because they thought I was in a relationship that wasn't with a person that they thought I should be in a relationship with. So there's separation, and I thought at this stage of my life, I figured it all out. There's always a new lesson in learning. But I would say that you have the opportunity to just be the best version of yourself. And then I have a thing called the 8 traits of successful people. And when I say successful people are getting what they want, and one of them is self-care. And self-care, there's an inner narrative that goes with self-care, but most of us suck at it. If you spoke to your friends or your children the way you speak to yourself, Tommy, how long would they stick around?
Not long.
No. So that's the first place you got to do a little bit of self-care on is go, look, you know what? I may not be the perfect dad. I may not have made all the right decisions, but I'm working on being the best version of myself and getting better and better. Put in a great deal of effort today, and tomorrow I'll be a little bit better. I love you, bro. Good job. And let's make the best of this 20-minute dinner I have with my kids. You got to start, falling back in love with yourself a little bit, because if you don't, it's tough to believe that other people will fall in love with you if you don't really love yourself.
Well, and I really believe it goes back to, among several great points you made, believe in yourself, set up your I am mantra, reprogramming your mind. And I think that a lot of, I'll just speak for myself. There's, again, I still have, obviously after you speaking with me, I still have a lot of baggage up there. I still don't have that belief in myself, and, trying to figure out my own I am. And it's just one of those things where it's difficult for me to repurpose or reprogram my brain, because 50 plus years on this planet, it's like poor you look at a dog and you can tell they've been beaten, and when you've been beaten down so much, what's the use? But at the same time, it's like you said, people don't want to be around negative people. They want to be around positive people. I mean, even my biggest thing is, even though I might wake up and I'm not feeling the greatest, and if somebody says to me, and I truly mean this, Rock, if somebody says to me off the street, how are you doing today? And I'll give them my tagline, and that is, it's a day above ground. I'm grateful for it. So there are days where you have to fake it until you make it on some of those days.
Yes. And I have another podcast in 6 minutes, so just FYI. All of that is true, and most of it comes down to, like, you have thousands of files in your brain. You're 53 years old. You have 1,000, of the amount of money you've made. You have a blueprint around the amount of money you've made in your life. You've made no more than so much a year, no less than so much a year. That's your range. You've never had more than so much and less than so much in your assets. You have a range. That's your personality, if you will, around money. You have a personality around your relationships. You have a personality around the number of times you have sex in a month or a year or in a day. So we have all of these references, and our brain usually thinks, because that's happened in the past, I never made more than $100,000 a year in my life. The chances of it happening are very slim to none, unless what? I shift something. So the work comes back down to the same steps I talked to you about before. Decide what you want. I want to be financially free. What do I have? Scan, what do I have available? Well, I've got my job, and then I got all my kids and responsibilities. I got to do something differently. So scan for what I don't have. Well, I need to find a mentor that is getting a result that I want. Who do I know that is making money without having to work in a 9-to-5 or whatever? Oh, John or Smith or Gary Vaynerchuk or Tony Robbins or whoever. Oh, what did they do? They wrote a book. They did something. They invest in real estate. Okay. Am I willing to be the student? I can't juggle. Can I be the student? Yeah, I'm willing to be the student. Oh, God, I barely have time to learn another thing. Already inundated. I got a limiting belief around the amount of resources. I need to become more resourceful. Like, I could talk you through the whole process, because this is what I do. I can help anybody. I've helped 41 people become whole life millionaires in the last 3 years. It's what I do. So I help people get unstuck. Now, to your point, make this the last point, is it possible to change? Yes. Back to my 3 questions. Can Tommy do it? What's the answer? Can you become financially free? What's the answer, Tommy?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay. Will it work? Well, you got to find the vehicle now that will do that.
Right.
I don't know what you do. Do you have a regular job, 9-to-5?
Yes, software.
Okay.
I train software.
Great. So is that the vehicle for you?
No.
Okay. So you need to find a new one. you may have to talk to people, get in an environment and go, okay, well, how did you do it? How did you do it? How did you do it? Remember, you become the student and you go, oh, Airbnb. You can do Airbnb without investing. Oh, there's a way to do that. I got to take that course for $1,000, figure out how to do it, get mentored. Remember the 3 M's, jot them down: mentor, model, mastery. And then you become really good at it. Helped a bunch of people do it. And then you go, okay, that's the vehicle. And now I have to scan for the resources, need the course, take action, and get the result. And that's how it works. And you've got to then go, is it worth it? Is it worth it for you to give up watching Dancing with the Stars, sleeping in, maybe having to change your diet because your diet takes 50% of your energy and you got to shift your diet. You got to clean up, lean up. I don't know. I have no idea. And have more energy. How does Rock get up, at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to 11 o'clock at night with high levels of energy? Because he eats 70% vegetables and fruits. I need to learn about that. And then you start to get yourself, into the Clint Eastwood or into the Wayne Gretzky mindset in the 8 different areas of your life, which is what we teach. And then you're going to get a new result, even though it's going to take a lot of effort because you've got 53 years of it being a different way. You can do it if you're hungry enough. And that's the formula, my friend.
So, Rock, how can our listeners get a hold of you? What's your website? All that good stuff, because you offer so much great information today. I want the listeners to find Mr. Rock Thomas.
Yeah, really simple on all the social media, and of course my website, rockthomas.com. You can get my free book there, The Power of Your Identity, and they can email me at rock@rockthomas.com. or just follow me on social media, and I do a bunch of free lives and stuff like that. And happy to help people wherever you are in the journey. I work one-on-one with people that are hardcore, and I go visit their residence 4 times a year, and it's $100,000. Or you can go right down to absolutely free, or get my book, or wherever you want, wherever you are in that continuum. If I resonate with you and you hear something that seems to make sense, I'm passionate about helping people, and if they want to participate in their own rescue, then reach out. And if not, it's been awesome chatting with you.
Rock, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate your time. The one thing I love on your Instagram is from farm boy to multimillionaire. I think that's why I'm going to title this podcast. So
if you want, you can say from farm boy to financially free too.
There we go. I want to respect your time, Rock. Thank you again. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Great connecting with you. Many blessings.
Thank you for listening to Blending the Family, the podcast. We hope while the little kid kicking your seat behind you while flying across the country was less painful than listening to Tommy. Wait. Please leave a rating and review, however you get this podcast, whether it's through the mail or from your neighbor or listening in under the couch. I don't know. You tell me.